Okay, so am I going to introduce our speaker now?
Yes, John. Yes,
Okay,
please.
sorry. Our speaker today is Sheila Mayer, and Sheila is a student of life through eternity and a licensed Unity teacher since 2013. Growing up on a farm in Eastern Ontario, she was blessed with strong ties to community, spirituality, and nature. Leaving home for the University of Guelph, her spiritual journey became very eclectic until she came home to Unity nearly 30 years ago. Thank you, Sheila, for being with us today.
Okay. Dawn, you're the one I can see. Can you hear me and see my
I
screen?
can hear you well. Thank you.
Okay, right on. Excellent. So, good morning, everybody. And my privilege and pleasure to be here with you this morning across space and time to connect heart to heart, mind to mind. And the talk for today is about what if? And that question is our access point to infinite possibilities of divine mind through our imagination. What if we could make the most of everything that comes our way, regardless of whether or not we like it? What if whatever's happening right now is a blessing that I haven't totally recognized or pulled the nuggets of blessing out of yet? What if we could celebrate process as much as outcome? And all of those what ifs lead to even more. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Sawubona, for those of you that have heard me speak before, you know that's the Zulu greeting, I see you. And that's that Christ within me greets the Christ within you. And your response then is Yabo Sawubona. So altogether, Yabo Sawubona. And that's, I see you seeing me. So that completes the connection of my high self to your high self, reaching out across space and time to connect. And even if you're listening to the recording later, again, it's that reaching to make that connection. And the intention today is to get some spiritual nourishment, inspiration, whatever wonderful thought or idea or nugget or connection or love, whatever it is we need today out of today's service, it's my prayer that that's what we get and create together. So Unity's Unity Worldwide Ministries vision for 2020 was Perfect Vision 2020, seeing through a spiritual lens. And through the month of May, we've been looking at curiosity, that idea of I live in a world of wonder through that spiritual lens of perfect vision. So what do we do when the dandelions grow? We get to decide how we want to label them. We can get curious instead of furious. And we can pause before we rip them all out. If we want to label them weed, then yes, they need to come out. But maybe they're also a flower, maybe they're a medicinal herb, or maybe they're lunch. There's lots of different ways of looking at them. And all of the metaphysical dandelions, so all of the situations that pop up in life are the same thing. Nothing has any meaning but the meaning we give it. So we get to choose what meaning to apply to things. And when we choose to give it a meaning that is helpful to us, then it's helpful to us. So yes, get curious rather than furious. So Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, spoke of the 12 powers of man, or the 12 powers of humanity, our inherent birthright from the divine. And one of those was imagination, or is imagination. And it's when we want to tap into that imagination, that is our access to being able to reach beyond what we see and what we know into what is greater than that? What is the unknown? Into solutions to problems. And asking the question, what if, is kind of like casting a line, like a fishing line, out into the ocean. You don't know what you're going to catch, but you asking what if is casting the line out with the intention of catching something, or casting a net out into the ocean of divine ideas. And you never know what you're going to catch. It might be, a fish you really like. It might be an old boot. It might be a fish you like even better. It might be one that is terrifying, and it might be one that's even, bigger and nastier than that. You don't know. And while that may make you nervous about putting questions out there or exploring the what if, we can't control what fish we catch on our line or catch in our net. Some of us will beat ourselves up when we all of a sudden find a negative thought in our head and we go, no, I think positive. Where did that come from? How did I let that happen? And rather than getting upset on it and beating ourselves up, if we can just go, yeah, I've got something on my line I don't really want, throw it back. We can't control what we catch on our line, but we can control what we keep. We can control what we take home and make a meal out of. We can control what we throw back and what we release. And that is the opportunity that we have that way. There was another point I wanted to make about that. It'll come back. Of course. Imagination, all the different ways we can use our imagination. So we can use it for catching new ideas. We can use it for seeing things in new ways, finding solutions to problems, combining things in new ways, or using them differently, so that we create something new out of what has been. And the opportunity then is to explore and expand. We are co-creative creators, and we get to do that. It's part of living. So, and the biggest thing with that whole idea of fishing, what we can control is what bait we use on the hook. Our vibration is the bait on our hook when we go casting into the ocean of ideas. You say, well, what is the vibration of our bait? Those are the thoughts that we're thinking and the feelings that we're feeling. It's like tuning into a radio station. If you want to hear country music, you dial your frequency to the frequency of the country music station. If you want to hear classical music, then you tune into the classical station. If you want the news, you can turn to the news all day channel. But if you're tuned to a different channel, you're not going to hear what you're expecting to hear, what you want to hear. And it's the same when you're fishing for ideas in the ocean of possibilities. You need to bait your hook with the frequency that will attract the ideas that you're looking for. And so often and really this is unity principle number 3. The law of attraction is another way of saying it. Like ideas attract like ideas. Energy follows thought. The frequency of what we put out is the frequency of what we get back. There's lots of ways of phrasing it, and it really boils down to the vibration of the bait that we're using. So what if I use low frequency bait? Anger, resentment, lack, those sorts of things. Do the awfulizing. Anybody familiar with the expression of headed to hell in a handbasket? There's worry, negative goal setting. Those are all ways of looking at it, right? And have you ever had it where like one little fear thought begets a larger fear thought, begets a bigger fear thought? Or you go clicking on it and you catch one little piece of news and you click on that and it gets worse, and you click on that and it gets worse. Energy follows thought. So the bait that you use on the hook will, catch a larger fish of the same frequency. So this is how to use your power of imagination in a way that is not immediately helpful. It does, however, give you lots of contrast and helps you prepare for worst case scenarios. That's making, lemonade out of lemons. There is a better way or another way, a higher frequency way of using your power of imagination. And that's, what if I use high frequency bait? And this is an example of how you can try things on in mind first before you actually act them out. You don't have to awfulize and do all that to prove that it's a bad way of thinking or a painful way of thinking. I shouldn't say bad. It's a way of suffering. And a little bit of that, nothing like clarity, right? Nothing like contrast. So what if I use a high frequency? Everything always works out for me. If you're looking for ways of, trading up thoughts, of starting out with a nice general easy thought that's just a little bit better than where you're at, trying to go straight to bliss isn't always possible when we find ourselves in a low space. Sometimes we can, shift topics, shift to a topic that we're not so charged about. Sometimes we can find one that's a thought that's just a little bit gentler, a little bit easier, that gives us a little bit of relief to where we're at. And if you're looking for ways of pulling up your frequency, of putting better bait on your hook, I highly, highly recommend YouTube and Esther Hicks, Abraham through Esther Hicks. Some of you are probably already familiar with that. And Abraham is very, very good at modeling how to start with a very general thought and using it to raise your frequency up. The other thing that we control beyond bait is the location of where we're casting. So we can cast our nets into the familiar, into appearance, and it's kind of like doing a search on your own hard drive. Yes, you can see what's out there and what you've got to choose from, but it's very, very limited because it's just what already exists. It's what's in your face. And while that's super great if you're experiencing stuff you want, that's when it's easy to be spiritual, right? I pray for it. I'm already seeing it. It's right there. It's mine. I can have it. I can expand it. I can grow it. It's not always so easy when that's not what you're experiencing. When your experience is the absence of something or the contrast to something, then it's more challenging to look past the appearance of things into the potential of things. And this is where unity principle number 4 comes into play, because that's that connecting with creative source energy. That's what if I cast into the infinite potential of source, where I'm not limited to what I see already existing. I'm not limited to the appearance of things now. I'm visualizing and using the power of my imagination to reach out and get ahead of creation. Rather than trying to use whiteout on the printout, I'm going back into the computer to make the change to print again and print something different. Not necessarily as easy, but so much more powerful and so much more fun. The alternative to casting into what's left, notice the left-right thing happening there. So instead of casting into the left, we can cast to the right. And Jesus, let me just get the quote right. There were 2 stories where Jesus spoke to this. One was when he was calling his disciples, and he called out to Simon Peter, and who had been having very poor luck fishing that day. And he said, "Cast your net on the right side of the boat and you will get some." some fish. And so they did that, and they were unable to haul it in because the number of fish was too great. And then the other story was back in Luke 5:4, where Jesus called from shore and told them again they hadn't been having much luck fishing, and he said, "Put out into deep water and let down your nets for the catch." And again, this wasn't something that was intuitively obvious to them, but when they did, all of a sudden they couldn't haul all the fish in because it was so bountiful. And both of those ideas speak to changing our mind, changing our mindset, looking beyond appearance, not casting into what's left, but casting into what's right, connecting to our creative source energy, going into the deeper waters. And maybe that means facing some of our fears. You can't touch bottom anymore. It means taking that leap of faith. But it's the difference between connecting to your ego mind and your own personal hard drive versus connecting to God, the infinite potential, creative source energy, the whole internet. All of a sudden you have so much more in the way of resources. And when you combine that with the right bait, because if you're using the right bait, but in familiar waters, where if you're trying to solve the problem from the mindset of the problem, you're not going to find the solution. It's not there. It's switching to the other side of the boat. It's connecting to source energy to cast into those deeper waters. So what if this is a well-disguised opportunity? So when things are showing up that you don't know what to do with, or that are looking like dandelions, this question of what if this is a well-disguised opportunity? Can I see it in a different way? Even pray, turning it over to Spirit, God, by whatever name infinite source. Show me something different here. Show me the hidden gem. What is the best I can imagine happening today? And before service, we were talking, and Catherine mentioned, it's great to recognize that, all of our major systems are ripe for overhaul at this point, whether we're talking agriculture or healthcare or politics or financial system or education. It's all ripe for overhaul. The momentum in painfully dysfunctional directions is all coming to a stop. We have the opportunity to build again from foundation. And as Catherine pointed out, it's not for us necessarily to tell everybody else what they should do. It's about, what can I imagine in my own life? How can I make that shift in my own world, my own internal governance and politics? How I run my own life. How can I change it so that I'm, we say we want government to work for the people. Well, how about internally having our thoughts working for us rather than serving the government or serving external demands? Finding ways of being loving, compassionate, supportive. What is the best that I can imagine happening today? Starting the day with that question and just feeling into the potential, to the opportunity. There's so much there, and finding ways to adopt it. Taking the agriculture example, maybe it's about, well, I can't change the agriculture system and make it all of a sudden less vulnerable, but I can buy local. And maybe I can't buy all local, but maybe I can buy local carrots, whatever. Every little step in the direction we want to move is a step in the direction we want to move. It's going the right way. What if the opposing view has a gift for me? Right now, we're seeing such an opportunity of making other people wrong, of seeing such loud contrast between views. And that separation or illusion of separation is becoming so loud. And so is the call for coming together, remembering, calling all of our fractured pieces back together. Finding anyone that I hold a grudge against or hold judgment on or am less than loving to, anyone that doesn't have safe passage through my mind, that's mine to heal. And when we take those opportunities to heal our thoughts, to understand where the other's coming from, to understand their point of view, to hold them in compassion, to allow the differences, and to acknowledge that we are all part of the same one, the same great whole. They too are children of God of equal value. And when we take the time to do our shadow work, we are doing the integration that globally we're being called to do. We don't have to do it all at once. We just have to do our part. What if the best I can do, or what is the best I can do with what is? So whatever's showing up in my life right now, what's the best I can do with it? And Spirit will have an answer for that. And sometimes it's just, sitting with it. Sometimes it's just setting it aside. Sometimes it's making lemonade out of lemons. Sometimes you can make really excellent dandelion wine. Mine's cooking. What is the best I can imagine for healthcare? What is the best I can imagine for my own health? What is the best I can imagine for our world? What is the best I can imagine for my community? And just taking that question in and embodying it. What can I bait my hook with? Finding some little piece where I'm already living it, where it's like, yes, I am eating organic this, or yes, I am doing, that. What are the pieces I've got working right? And celebrate them. Another one of our faculties comes into play at this point, and it's the faculty of faith. Our faith is our ability to believe without physical evidence. It's easy to believe if what we want is already manifest out there and we can see it. It's a much bigger challenge to have that faith when where it's not on the horizon. And the exciting part right now is you can see the seeds of so much of what we want out there. It's just a matter of cultivating them and growing them. You've got the fish on the hook. That's the vision, that's the dream, that's the desire of what you want. Now is the challenge of landing the fish. And this is the journey. When we say the joy is in the journey, not the destination, landing the fish, that is the journey. And that can be so challenging when you're in a space of lack and you want to hold compassion and kindness and so forth, and you're not seeing it out there, and you'd like to believe it's possible, and you go to faith, and then you're not seeing it happen. And we can do the foot on the gas, foot on the brake, because when we hold those thoughts of not having, then the vibration we're putting out there is not having, and the universe says, okay, cool, you don't have, and therefore you still want, then you can still want and you still don't have. That's the bait you've put on the hook, and that's the fish you've landed. So getting into that vision of already having the fish, of knowing what the fish dinner tastes like, or imagining the joy of having that fish in your hands. I came across this wonderful story of the power of not yet to comfort and soothe us when we're in that space between having the fish on the hook and not having it landed. You know that you've got your dream on the hook and you just pray the line will hold. This is where we come to, rather than falling into fear or falling into anxiety or falling into all of the things that we can when something hasn't manifested yet. This woman, Carol Dweck, I think was her name, and you can find her on TED Talks on YouTube. And she described school in Chicago where instead of kids that didn't get a passing grade, instead of getting fail or an F on their report card, they got not yet. Can you feel the power of the difference between getting fail on your report card and getting a not yet on your report card? The one says, that's it, that game over, you're not good enough. The other says, hasn't happened yet, but it's inevitable. Not yet, it's there for you. You know, keep persevering. And she talks about how this idea of not yet speaks to having a mindset of growth, where we're celebrating the process more than the outcome, which is what all of the spiritual masters have told us to do. And it's really about enjoying the journey more than the destination. Again, if you're into Abraham via Esther at all, they repeat that over and over again. You know, your life is about the journey, enjoy it. And we get so hung up on, yeah, but I want it now. And it's like, when we can enjoy the process, it's so much better. Yes, celebrate when we finally land the fish, celebrate it, because that energy of this is what I want, this is what I want to create more of, is so powerful. Gratitude, love, appreciation. The word appreciate means to grow more, to grow in worth. And celebrate even the little victories. You know, when you want to lose weight and you're going to, you know, start jogging, and the next week you still haven't been out yet. The day that you get your shoes put on, celebrate the little victory. You're moving in the right direction. You know, let your inner being know that this is what you want. Support yourself, be supportive. And rather than beating yourself up and going, I'll never get it done, it's too hard, this wasn't for me, I'm not up for it, not good enough. That's a song that I know well, or know the chorus to. Letting it go and going, you know what? This is part of the process. Every time I fail is another step towards success. Not yet, but it's gonna happen. Celebrate the process more than the outcome. When it's the process, when you've taken a step in the right direction, that is success. That's that taking ground on the things that we want. So with that, all of those ideas of what success is, what imagination is, casting into the vision, let's just take that now into the silence, into meditation. And again, Dawn, I'm going to count on you to let me know if this is working or not. I have a Shruti box for background sound. You hear that at all?
You're good,
Yes
Sheila.
or no?
Good.
That works? Okay. Then I invite you just to settle into your heart. Breathing into that heart space. One power, one presence. Knowing that there is a whole world out there. And it's all part of the same one that is in here. Breathing into that love. Breathing into the acceptance. Breathing into the truth of knowing who we are, what we are. I invite you just to imagine now stepping into your heart and finding yourself on the shore of a beautiful lake or ocean. Dream as big as you want. And imagine casting your rod, casting your fishing line. And on the hook is the love that the Creator has for you. And as you're casting it, imagine what kind of fish you'd like to land. Is it a dream? Is it clarity? Is it a feeling? Assurance of abundance, of peace? And just allow that hook with that bait, that pure love, to sink into the deep water, into the deep stillness. Take a few moments now in the silence to breathe in and be present. In the stillness of the deep currents, be attentive to the gentle tug on the line of any thought or feeling or idea that may nibble at your bait, at your hook. Feel free to land as many fish as you want. Toss back any that you don't want. Bless each one as you do. It's a big ocean. Reeling in whatever is on your line now, knowing that the ocean is abundant and that you can come fishing anytime, holding faith that you will land the fish that are yours. No one else can take them. They are yours, and they're waiting for you. For love and appreciation for all that the Creator has for us, we celebrate. In love and gratitude, amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sheila. That was an awesome, awesome talk, and a great way to talk about the weaving it through the principles and how our thoughts, affect everything. And I don't know that I'll ever look at fish the same. I will have a deep appreciation for all fish now, but also, yeah, excellent talk. Thank you so much. So now we're going to do our prayer for protection. So if Larry, if you can find that slide, and I'll lead it. Here we go. So the light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And yay, God. Peace song.
Let there be peace on this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Super.
Good job.
Thanks, Sheila.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was
Sheila.
great, Sheila.
Yes, thank you, Sheila.
Thanks,
That was
Sheila.
lovely.
Sheila.
Yeah, wonderful.
Awesome.
There's a dog.
Oh, Scott's giving you the heart